morning, you guys, and welcome to our video this year for the class of 2021 Northford Timber Framers. So we're going to do some different stuff in class this year than we've done before. Last year's class project was 30 by 40, tremendously tall, huge, gorgeous reproduction of an early English timber frame, which would be very common to the shoreline here in Connecticut. So this year what we decided was we're actually going to build 3 smaller timber frames such as this one. I had to brainstorm last autumn that we needed a little more room for our swan enclosure to keep the birds safe in the winter. And so we built this timber frame, which is 10 by 24. And in class this year, we're actually going to do 3 buildings, something we've never done before. We're going to tackle 3 smaller buildings in class, which is coming up mid-May. So we're a couple of months out, and we're going to build a reproduction or 2 similar structures to this. Only we're going to build a 14, which would put it out to about here. We're going to build a 14 by 24, which is going to be an artist studio for one of the gals in our group. Then we're going to build a 16 by 24, which is out to about here, 16 foot wide, 24 foot long, and it's going to have a shed roof addition. And then we're going to build a pavilion, which is going up to Sturbridge, Massachusetts. So for somebody to take class this year, you are going to get a well-rounded weekend of a tremendous experience, hands-on timber framing with smaller projects that you can do yourself. And that's why we sort of stepped down from the big barn. You might notice over across this way is it's my Revolutionary barn, which was homesteaded by Aaron Hall, Revolutionary War veteran, who served from 1777 through 1781, the surrender at Yorktown. And oddly enough, it was a soldier's barn who served with Washington. He was actually at Valley Forge. So just some more of our rich New England history and our rich country's history. But my workshop is actually in that barn. So let's walk around the back and take a look inside. This is the other gable end. And take a walk inside, you guys. It's pretty tall. So here you have our recycled 10 by 24 timber frame structure with some new and some old. The 3 tie beams are chestnut. They're actually from a 200-year-old building, 1810. And then this top plate here is from a Connecticut tobacco barn up in Windsor. And it was originally a tie beam. You can see the 2 queen post mortises, which I recycled it, put them down. And so it's a combination of new and old wood. But everybody loves the size of it. We keep hearing tiny home or Airbnb. So if you had any interest in building a small timber frame like this, consider taking our class this year. So welcome back, you guys. So we're over here on North Street at the Reverend Samuel Eel's home, which is the video we did for last year's class. And we're standing in what is the kitchen addition that I built for our good friend Phil a year ago. And so this kitchen is a bump out from the 1760 part of the house. And I would encourage you to watch the video from last year's class, the class of 2020, when we go through the history of this house and the history and the connection with George Washington. And we're down in the basement showing off this giant fireplace and the secret escape hatch that I think is downstairs. But anyway, this kitchen addition is made of mostly hardwoods. All the braces are natural shaped curved braces. They're tiger maple, cherry, walnut. The posts are walnut. The pegs are white oak. And we're just waiting for it to get fit up with counters and appliances and kitchen cabinets. But I wanted to take a few minutes and just show off this kitchen addition that we did last year. So we're outside from the Samuel Eel's house, and we're standing in front of, you guys, what was last year's class project. So this is what we accomplished in class last year. It's 4 bents, it's 30 foot by 40 foot. It's about 40% or 30% cherry. The rest of it is hemlock. There's some white oak. There's some sassafras. There's some maple. We made a replica stone foundation. Our 2 plaques that we try and put on all of our buildings are over on this side. And so we're just stepping inside. And again, I have to say, this was last year's Northford timber frame class project. And the day of the raising, we had around 60 to 70 men and women. All of them were Northford timber framers from last year's class and from classes that go back 25 years. And this is what we accomplished. It's got our typical 2-piece staircase in the corner. What we tried to do with this was bring out these saw marks so that it sort of looked like it was pit sawn or water sawn. And the guy that sawed those for us with his band mill said he could create that by just bending 1 tooth. And that's what he did. And so it came out with sort of a nice early 19th century look. This cherry corner post of the stairs here is a pretty long one. It's all headed out. It's all headed out with mortise and tenon joinery. The good part about having the high platform is it gives you a spot for your electric panel. Around 250 to 300 white oak pegs. And there's enough height upstairs to have a basketball game. And maybe we'll take a walk upstairs and show that off to you guys. The stairs are sturdy, that's for sure. Welcome to the 2nd floor. And the queen beds are cherry, and the queen ties are cherry. As you can see, the height that's up here, it has tremendous height. Next year's video will show off the clock tower that's going right here in the center of the barn. We have an 1860 Congregational Church clock movement that we're going to be building into a cupola-like tower. And that'll be going up in September. So just in a random fashion, we left these tenons long. And we didn't even square up the end cuts. We left them all irregular. And to me, that's part of the art form of timber framing, is to do what pleases your eye. I find symmetry to be boring, and I'd rather see stuff that's a little twisted and a little imperfect. So these plates are 1-piece 40-foot timbers. So this purlin plate is an 8x8 by 40 foot, and this top plate is a hemlock 8x8 by 40 foot also. The posts, this is a 7x8, which creates this beautiful ledge right here. And it's part of what we like to do in using different size dimensions. Should we go up?
Go for it.
Me?
Yeah. I want to get a good butt shot.
Oh yeah. How about you, Hoodie? Have you had a hard life?